Modern Horizons 3 is bringing a lot of power creep. We're rotating Modern, we're rotating Commander, but we're also getting reprints in addition to all the new cards.
We're going to talk about a lot of stuff other than just fetch lands, and then make sure to stick around to the end of the video because we're going to give you our take on best time to like pick stuff up.
Mr. Bevers, Ryan, Chris, Paul, Brian, Nikki, Zach, Matt, Harold, Alex, Diego, Raphael, y'all 4-year supporters of the Patreon. Y'all are insane. Thank you so much. Jake and Joel or Magic are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your cards on the internet. TCG Player, the best place to buy them. Drip Shop, the best place to find us twice a month, streaming tons of giveaways over there. Lots of fun stuff for sale. Go check us out over on Drip Shop.
Also, Dragon Shield for sleeving your cards. We've used Dragon Shield for pretty much ever, and we don't plan on changing. You can find links to all of our sponsors in the description of the video. Also, Moxfield is where we organize our decks, and then finally MTG Stocks, which we will be using in this video as we reference some old prices of cards and that kind of thing.
JAJAM's also brought to you by viewers like you. That's to say our Patreon supports our efforts in a way that sounds like public broadcasting because I like how it sounds. Go check out our Patreon. We've tried to put fun rewards at any tier that you want to support us at with varying levels of invasion of our community. Invasion, is that the right word?
Check out our Patreon, which you can also find in the description of the video if you want to get involved.
Immersion, different levels of immersion in our community.
Immersion.
God, Jake, there are a few cycles that are in this set that are reprints. The first and most popular of which are probably the fetch lands.
Yes, and we are already seeing early dips in price. When we went back to MH2, I remember we were talking about, wow, it would be great to get a Scalding Tarn at $40. Well, Scalding Tarn is much less than $40, and we are seeing these big adjustments in price, in my opinion, a lot faster than we saw them with MH2. It actually took a while for those fetch lands to get soaked up and get to a low price. But we're already seeing a pretty significant race to the bottom on these, and the set just had pre-release. As of the filming of this video, it is Monday after pre-release weekend.
Yeah, with the fetch lands, right now, these are the TCG Player price high to low sort on the rare lands in this set. You can see it's all fetch lands, and then you start to get into that cycle of rare lands, the new cycle of rare lands. With the reprints that we're focused on in this video, your retro polluted delta is your current high watermark for pricing for the non-foil fetch lands in the set. You can see, Jake, we were pre-ordering $50, and as this set has become opened and opened from the 1st of this month at $36 all the way to just the 9th, and we're at $24. And that's the high watermark. That's the most expensive fetch in this set right now. And we're not even at paper release yet, dude.
Yeah. And like we said, we're going to tell you, best time to buy. But, a lot of the time it's at least a couple months after this set comes out. So I'm waiting on a lot of this stuff. I know that these are going to get cheaper. I do like that they went with different art. Whereas in MH2, they brought back art from the past. Well, at least with these fetch lands, they let the Khans of Tarkir art breathe. So the KTK art had art and flavor text related to dragons. This is a very small anecdote, but when you think like there are dragon decks that might want to theme their mana base with like dragon type cards, and the Khans of Tarkir art was not reprinted, which is pretty cool on these. But yeah, these are all going to race to the bottom. We have retro, we have full art, we have the basic frame, and so I would expect these prices to get even lower, and we already see some of these getting around the $12-13 level.
I wanted to see our high water mark for the base copy of the most expensive one, which is going to be Polluted Delta with this set. 1 month chart on this one shows a $15 high water mark for the most expensive base copy of fetches. This is the reprint that's driving the set. If you're looking at just reprints in this set, power level is majorly driving this set, to be quite honest. But with fetches already being 15 prior to street legal date, this is a huge sign that these are going to be under 10s, very pick upable in quantities, and they will go back up over time, though it can take a while. This is not buy a full brick of each of these and expect them to double in a year or two. This is, if you're trying to invest in fetches, number one, I'd say don't do it. Number two, I would say you got to be long on these, and you got to time that expected reprint pretty well. But watch for these to get low. Base copies under $10, they're going to work perfectly in your commander decks. I know it.
I mean, you could see where Scalding was. So the conversation Joel and I were having way back before September was, wow, you know, it would be great to get a copy of Scalding Tarn at a reasonable price. You have a card here that got higher than $100, but then it got a massive, meaningful reprint in Modern Horizons 2. And it has really flattened out the price, and the card continues to hit what I would consider, you know, all-time lows or all-time low territory. Like right around from when the card was printed. Scalding Tarn is one of the best fetch lands, and it was because it was a scarce one, and it also has blue in it, which makes sense. It also has red. And so this is just a big lesson here that we got to learn from Modern Horizons 2, which is it pays to wait. We are now years later. So like Joel was saying, you know, if you're buying up these fetch lands thinking you're going to get a quick return or something like that, I would say, you know, that's extremely risky. I would say, you know,
it's
they're
not
probably
just risky,
going
it's
to hit.
stupid. Look at this chart.
Yeah.
Y'all look at this chart. MH2 was printed 1 billion times. They printed the crap out of this set because it sold. You think the same thing's not going to happen for MH3? You're still going to have cards in the set that break out because they are just wildly playable. Over $40 for both special versions of Ragavan. Your base copy's 36. You can see wildly played cards here, not above $50. That's how much this set got printed. Fetches in the dirt. Printed 4 years ago, 3 years ago. We got in 24. They're still going down, just starting to slightly
Joel and I said that
up.
we would be buyers. We said we would be buyers for Scalding Tarn around $40. And people in the comments at the time were like, Scalding Tarn is not going to hit $40. Well, here it is at 20. It's a $20 card now.
The second cycle that needs to be discussed if we're talking about reprints in Modern Horizons 3 are the medallions. Jake, we saw the medallions pop up in Commander Masters as one of the pushers of that set. Here they are again in Modern Horizons 3, and they have 2 versions, not the 3. We don't have retros of these. I suppose we'll get retros in Modern Horizons 4 of the medallions. That'd be kind of a cool place to put the retro medallions, but 2 versions. This is gonna kill the prices of these, right?
Yeah, I would actually think so. And you know, I'm racking my brain, but I think medallions might have got an etched version in Commander Masters, possibly. And so maybe they just got an etched version, which is why they're just now getting a full art version. The full art version on these is awesome. Obviously, Mox Jet is the best. Come at me if you think any of the other ones are better than Mox Jet, but I doubt anybody feels that way. Wow, what an extreme opinion.
I personally am going to be picking up the full cycle of the borderless on these, probably in foil, just looking at the prices the way they are now. All of these under $20, most of these under $10. That sounds like borderless foils is the direction I would go with this, because this is definitely a set I want to have one of each, even though the green one's probably womp. I got the green one and the blue one when I open, so I just gotta get the jet, the ruby, and the pearl, and I'll be good to go. I want to pick this up while it is the most reprinted I've ever seen it in my lifetime. This was something that we definitely needed. We got Commander Masters. Nobody was really asking for it again, but this is definitely going to keep the prices down, push them into a very fantastic pickup range for the wider audience. But you need to make sure, again, before you grab them, you know where it's at in the sort of like downgrade of price, and grab them when they're low, not right now when they're pre-sale prices.
Right, for sure. Now, you might be like, why did they reprint them again if they just put them in Commander Masters? Well, this is Wizards of the Coast taking the opportunity to make these cards modern legal. So that's why they came out in the Modern Horizons set, is now they're shaking up Modern with the medallions. And time will tell if any of those cards really push a deck in any sort of big way. I imagine that some people will tinker with them. But yeah, I'm in the kind of boat where I have pretty much all of these cards. I don't really need any of these. Yeah. But if these are something that you didn't have, well, yeah, you'd be really happy to see that you can get a Jet Medallion for around $3 compared to when it hadn't been reprinted and it was in Tempest and it was like a $30 or $40 card. Now it is much more affordable, which is why we're letting you know about it right now.
Yeah, we're very low risk on these at this point. Commander Masters, I'm sure at some point in the cycle of the release of that set, I was on record saying, gonna want to watch the medallions, y'all. Gonna be a great time to pick these up eventually. There was low risk then. There's even lower risk now. So same is true. And I don't feel like we were wrong saying pick them up at CMM if you really want them. But the rule with these reprints, Jake, buy it when you need it or never. And it'll be the lowest price that you can get it at.
Yeah.
Jake, Modern Horizons 3 brought us a reprint, base version and borderless version of Phyrexian Tower. Fantastic black land, legendary land in the legendary frame. Not the, first version of this we've seen by any means with the reprints. We saw it in Jumpstart and it was in Ultimate Masters, but now seeing it here with two different versions, probably a great time to pick this one up in my opinion.
I love that they went with new art on it as well. That was great. For the cards that are new to Modern that were reprints from sets in the past, they did this really cool thing where they put the watermark of the set under the text so that you could see what set brought us this. Well, it was originally, what is this, Urza's Legacy?
Saga.
Oh, Urza's Saga. Yeah, so very strong card, extremely powerful card. When we finally got the reprint in Ultimate Masters, it was great, but now here's another good time to get in.
In the style of Modern reprints, we've got the base copy, we've got the borderless, and so that is going to push, hopefully, this copy down because you effectively have 4 different versions of Phyrexian Tower. You got your base and your base foil, and you got your borderless and your borderless foil. So watch these base copies if you just need a copy of this. This land is very versatile and you're going to want to pick a version up.
Yeah, for the decks that want Phyrexian Tower, there's not really a land that offers a great alternative and does what it does.
When the amount of exile in the general meta nowadays, responding to I exile your creature with no you don't, I sack it, get 2 mana, and it goes to my graveyard so that I can use it again potentially or get it back. That is how I like to use Tower a lot if I'm not using it as part of my, some weird combo going on. Recruiter of the Guard, Jake, showing back up in Modern Horizons 3, originally from Conspiracy Take the Crown. Hasn't had a reprint outside of the list, and now we're getting a base version. We don't have a showcase. It doesn't have a borderless, any crazy things, but you're going to have your regular and you're going to have your pack foil version. This is a good pickup for the decks that want it.
Yeah, this is just a very strong card, and getting in at a nice low risk price right after a reprint is kind of like where you want to be, especially at a mythic as well, because it has been upshifted from rare to mythic. So I would expect the bounce on this card to come a little bit sooner than if it had been reprinted at rare. But yeah, this is one of those cards where it's just like some decks want this effect. I run it in SRAM. I think it's a great card. I use it to go get a Mother of Runes or Skrelv or one of those type effects.
Absolutely. Recruiter of the Guard, you can see tanking the list version here from above 20. We're working our way down to 15 quickly there. The only thing really holding value anymore is the OG foil, which is also kind of falling, just not as steeply. But to go from over nearly $200 to almost getting down in the 100 range, it shows how scarce this card was and how much this reprint did for the price of it. Man, Jake, this card was expensive and now it is not, huh?
this is one of those cards that does not stay cheap very long. It is it's because of so many kindred decks. It's just everybody wants it. If you're in a certain creature type, if you're playing any specific creature type, you have to have Urza's Incubator. There's no reason not to run it. It's just a strictly amazing card for any deck that wants it.
It's a fantastic time to reprint it too, with a renewed focus on Eldrazi. That's a specific sort of kindred deck that really wants mana ramp, mana cost reduction as much as you can. And so this is an absolute necessity for that, along with any kindred decks, like Jake said. Having the Dominaria Remastered reprint after the Commander 2015 reprint, which was kind of like how we were getting a version that wasn't our Urza's Destiny expensive as hell version at the time, was nice. But now getting this version following that up, and Dominaria Remastered didn't push it too low, but now we're getting under $10 for this one. I do agree with you though. This one kind of behaves like Cavern of Souls, where it'll get reprinted, it'll dip in the short term, but then just because of the sell-through on this card, the necessity of this card in so many decks, starts to bounce back up there.
What's funny is, like, I just built Imskir, for example. And this card, essentially, because Imskir has improvised, meaning it costs 1 less for each artifact you control, this effectively makes Imskir cost 3 less. There's almost like decks that will want this, that just have big booty commanders that have a high mana value, that want to just reduce it. I mean, paying 3 to reduce my commander's cost by 3, that seems like a lot, right?
Toxic Deluge, Jake, another card that showed up in Commander Masters last year that is now showing up again in Modern Horizons 3. This one they want to reprint. We're starting to see this in precons at this point, and this one used to drive sets. This was one of the big pulls in the Commander Collection Black set a few years back. And now it's like Murders at Karlov Manor precon version, Modern Horizons 3, like just base set rare. Okay, now it's modern legal. Okay, fantastic board wipe.
Yeah, it's extremely strong, dude. This card pushed a commander deck back in the day. Like you were saying, there was a commander deck that had it. I forget which year it was, but that was like one of the big cards from that deck. And people were like, oh, is this going to do things in Legacy or any of that kind of thing? Yeah, 2013. This was the first time we saw this. And yeah, I mean, if you were to go back and look at the chart of this card used to be pretty expensive, but now all of the reprints have driven the price down, and it's a very fair card. It's a very strong card. I like that it's a board wipe that you can cast for 3 mana, and it's depending on how much life you want to pay, you can scale it how you want. It's got some versatility to it. Yeah, it's one of those cards that people should just have. I don't know if it's going to make a big splash in Modern, but as commander players, we can rejoice in a $2 to $3 Toxic Deluge.
Seriously, 3 mana, less than a quarter of my life, wiping the whole board, and Indestructible goes with it. Okay, before we look at the reprints that were retro reprints, technically MH2 within MH3, we got to talk about Sylvan Safekeeper, Jake. This was a hugely scarce card that now being reprinted and being made newly modern legal. I don't think this card is going to like explode in price or anything, but it's going to be affordable to people who want it, especially in a year where we've had multiple lands, quote unquote, precon decks come out. This is a fantastic card for those.
Yeah, and it's so good. It's such like a flag bearer in a way. It's like you have to get through this. Like if you have something really important on the battlefield, for example, like, when I cast a Tali, it costs so much, and then when I flip it, people would like to go and take that opportunity to kill it because I'm sinking a ton of mana into flipping it over. That's a great time to have a Sylvan Safekeeper on the battlefield to give Atali Shroud until end of turn, right? Get that flip trigger on the stack, and then I, have the Safekeeper there to deal with it.
Absolutely.
I think that it's one of those cards that's just extremely well costed. It has a very unique and important effect, and you can do it again and again based on the number of lands you have. So if you're in like a ramp kind of situation, you got Ramanop Excavator and Crucible of Worlds and those type of effects going on.
Yeah.
You don't even care so much about sacking lands.
No, not at all. You had it OG in Judgment, 1 reprint in Commander 2014. We're not counting Commander Anthology as a reprint. I like that the 2022 Brian Kibler World Championship version is a version that you could get, but now it being here, I mean, let's look at the price on the Judgment version, all the way up over $20 as Commander is getting more and more and more popular, specifically CEDH getting more and more and more popular. They want some defense protecting their combos that involve creatures. Hello, sacrifice your lands. Not having a ton of retrace here. It's interesting to note, it's worth noting, I think, that art, that Pete Venter's art, not available anywhere else. And the old border foil is obviously going to have an insane multiplier.
Oh, I could only imagine what the old border foil costs. Very expensive.
Actually curious if they even have any foils for sale. Yeah, you're looking at damaged foils that are nearly $100. And with the pictures, when we're looking at the damage on this one, oh, you've got a nice couple of enormous creases in the card. Completely Commander deck playable, but not gradable by any means. However, even your damaged foils are absolutely commanding quite a price. So yeah, scarce cards, got a reprint. That's pretty much the long and short of this one. MH3 also had within it, just like the other Horizon sets, the retro reprints. Now these are very hard to track because they are technically part of MH2 in any database you look them up on the internet, but they are only openable in MH3. Jake, the main cycle of these is the elemental incarnations.
Yeah, we know these best from like the scam decks, and then there's obviously decks that run endurance and subtlety and solitude and all that stuff. They're all very good. You know, it's a way to do something for free, and we all know how good free spells can do. And yeah, like Joel said, you kind of have to know how to find these, because if you were to look up Modern Horizons 3 spoilers, these do not pop up. You actually need to search within Modern Horizons 2, and they are cards that only appear, it is worth noting, these only appear in collector boosters, and then also bundle. They appear in the bundle in some capacity, but they do not appear in the play boosters. So you're only going to find these when you're buying the collector product most of the time, and that is where you're going to secure these. These have also, in addition to this frame, the incarnations have a special guest versions that appear in textured foil as well. And so yeah, this is a great time to get these cards. We're going to see adjustments in price with these, like any reprint, and so definitely have these on your radar.
All of these around the $20 mark, with the exception of our banned Fury Friend here. Specifically, your black one, blue one, and white one are probably going to retain the most playability long term. Good time to look for good prices on these if you do want a set. Most players who want these want multiple copies for their deck. They're not just looking for a one-off for Commander, because these are just okay in Commander, whereas in one-on-one constructed they are quite oppressive. So watch these. Make sure if you were looking for copies of the incarnations, these are on your radar, because they will be entering the market through the retro frame reprint and the special guest. Jake, another retro frame MH2 card, which again only available in collector boosters. Another Ragavan popping up yet again. Really starting to get affordable. $40 for a Ragavan. Looks beautiful in this frame. What do you think about this version?
Yeah, big fan. Happy to see the reprint. I still don't have a Ragavan, and so
neither do I.
There will be no time like the present to try and find one. This is definitely where you want to be if you're looking to complete the play set. If you're like, man, I really put off getting my 4 Ragavan. Well, it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be cheaper than it was.
Correct. Yeah, lower risk. There's only so many times they're going to reprint a signpost card for their format, and so you got to strike while the iron is hot. Jake,
that's right.
Esper Sentinel in the
Same
retro
thing.
Frame. Same thing.
Yep.
Wildly playable. Around $20 at this point. Looks gorgeous in this frame. I'm just such a retro frame fan. As a holder of a retro frame Commander deck, it's just my time to feast. It's wonderful.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. We did pull a foil of this card on Drip, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be exciting, and Joel's going to add that to his retro commander deck. And so this is this is a really cool card. We all know about that one. And then also Dragon's Rage Channeler, looking at another card that's a 4 of. You might be like, wait, why are you showcasing this one? Well, this is where you get the retro frame version of it. If you're looking for that specific aesthetic, it just got added alongside all of the incarnations, Ragavan, Esper Sentinel, and some other cards that we're not telling you about in this video.
You can pay $8,000 for the Magic Fest version here.
Pass. So you might be wondering, when is the best time to buy these cards? Well, all that we can do is look to the past and look at Modern Horizons 2 and what we did with that. Look at the fetch lands and how long we waited. And we are seeing now that it appears the longer you wait, the better it is. So if you can wait a month or 6 months or a year, you're probably going to be able to find these cards for a very cheap price.
Yes.
Save some of the mythics and stuff like Ragavan. But it really all comes down to how frequently is this card going to get reprinted. So I would say for me, I would probably be looking at singles as early as now and as late as, 6 months from now, 4 to 6 months. I might even check on cards in a year down the road just to see how they do, especially with those fetch lands. We're going to be very eager to see what happens with those prices.
I like to go 6 months and then a year. Those are kind of my checkpoints for looking back at sets. 6 months is typically 2 sets down the road from a release, and so 2 sets happen, we're pretty out of sight, out of mind. I mean, Dominaria Remastered, Ravnica Remastered, sorry. Ravnica Remastered was the beginning of this year, and that set seems so long ago. That was only 3 sets ago. We had Thunder Junction and the Murder set since then. And so now's a good time to start looking at that set. I would do the same thing with Modern Horizons 3. We're right in the middle of the year. I would wait until, people are starting to get preview cards for Marvel next year and are starting to save money for that. Wanting to flip out the MH3 stuff that they opened but didn't use. That's when they're going to start trying to sell that stuff. That's when stuff's going to start bottoming out.
We do appreciate all of you watching, and we appreciate all of our sponsors. Again, you can find links to all of our sponsors in the description of the video, and big shout out to all of our patrons.
If you've watched this far, you must like our stuff. If this is at least your second video and you've watched this far and you haven't subscribed yet, do us the honor. Please just do that. And if you're saying, hey, this JAJAM community seems like a place I want to be, go check out our Patreon. Specifically thanks to all the names you're seeing here, our enthusiast patrons or higher. Jake, they're getting free sleeves and an extra exclusive video every single week.
That's right.
A video every week, not sleeves every week. Let me be specific.
Yeah, not sleeves.
We don't have free sleeves for everybody every single week.
That would be wild, man. We'd be really digging ourselves into a hole.
Now we're out of money because we gave everybody a pack of sleeves a week. Please join our Patreon.
Please stop sending me sleeves. We will send you so many sleeves that you will tell us to stop sending.
Yeah. You will not need insulation in your home. Just fill your walls with Dragon Shield packs.
That's right.